Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is what's going on. We are live. We've just concluded the end of the open D grade section here at the New South Wales Band Championships. And our adjudicator, Dr. Bob Childs, is down on stage. He's going to say a few comments and he's going to do a bit of a workshop with the band on stage. And this is your chance, wherever you're watching right around the world, to ask any questions that you might have about anything at all. And there'll be selected questions will be passed on to Dr. Childs, who might have some good answers for us. So we'll see how this goes. My name's Tim from Brassbanned. Hope you've enjoyed the coverage over the last little while. If you haven't enjoyed it, then I don't really know why you're still watching. If you're joining us on Facebook, hi. The Facebook quality isn't quite as good as the quality you'll see on brassband.com, but it's still pretty good. You can type your questions into the Facebook comment chat thing or on the live chat on brassband.com, and we'll get the questions in. We've already had a stack of nice questions, so we'll see what happens. Let us know what you think. Here we go.
Good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see you all. And it's been a wonderful day's listening. Actually, yesterday and today. Yesterday, I think I started at 10, and then we had the Champion of Champions, so we finished about 8 o'clock. And today, started slightly earlier at 8:30, and here we are wrapping up about 6 o'clock. So a man can't ask for any more than that. So much music in 2 days, and it's been really good fun. I've enjoyed listening to all the different age groups, especially enjoyed listening to the young children this morning. That was quite a thrill. But those results are out. We've been listening to the C and D grade today, and I just want to make a few comments on that playing really. In the C grade, the test piece prize winners, Music for a Festival and Oregon, were really good choices. In actual fact, the choices that were made, their own choices, were also good. Good in as much as there was 3 pieces of contrasting styles and contrasting lengths. I thought the conductors did a really good job of just thinking about the programs, thinking about their bands. There was the perennial problems of intonation, balance between the percussion and the band, clarity in the percussion. The percussion was always quite loud, but not always clear. And I think we can maybe in the workshop just show some of that, what we can do to clear those things up. And then some of the higher order skills of vibrato, legato playing, phrasing. They're all the things that are up there beyond just playing the notes, the dynamics, and the right tempos. It's said very often that because something is easy to assess, it doesn't mean that it's important. And what that refers to is, of course, it would be easy for me to sit up there and judge the band that plays the softest, or the band that plays the loudest, or where the composer says crotchet equals 168 plus, which leaves the tempo to the conductors. So it could be I could choose the fastest band, or I could choose the band that played the slowest in the sacred item. I could maybe choose the soloist that played the highest, or the tuba that was very clear in the pedals, the players that play low. But of course, just because something is easy to assess doesn't mean to say that it's important. And some of the things that are important are the most difficult to assess. It's one of those things whereby you sort of know when you're in the presence of something good. In a sacred number, for instance, if you get a tingle up your arm, at the back of your neck, that X factor, we're not too sure how to achieve it, but we know when it's there. And once or twice today, I've had that feeling with a few bands, and it's usually because it's perfectly in tune, and there's lovely phrasing, the vibratos are well matched, and there's good balance, not just a balance within the bands. I don't mean like a balance between just the cornets, the horns, the trombones, and the tubas, but a good balance within their sections. so that when I'm listening for the third chorus, I can hear the third chorus as well as the soprano. I can hear the second horn as well as the flugelhorn. I can hear the B-flat tuba as well as the euphonium, who sometimes is the first tuba in a band. So that's what I've been listening to. I'm sure that you'll have your own opinions based on whether your children or your family play in the band, as to who the winners are. You might have made your opinions based on the speed that the band plays, because that makes it really exciting. Or sometimes how slow they play. But the fact is that I've got all the scores, so I can see what tempos should be played, and I can see what dynamics should be played. And so I've got the criteria right in front of me, because people talk about criteria in adjudication. Somebody's come up with an idea of, let's have 10 marks for sound, let's have 10 marks for tempo, 10 marks for intonation, 10 marks for the best soloist, and put all that together and you should get a good result. Of course, that isn't what happens in reality, is it? Because the first thing that strikes any listener with anything to do with music, whether you're singing, whether you're a soloist, whether you're a band, whether you are a stringed instrument, a woodwind instrument, a brass instrument, or a percussion instrument, it's the sound, the quality of the sound that that person or that band or that section makes. If you don't make a fundamental sound, if you don't make a good sound, nobody wants to listen to you. And so sometimes we forget that. In our quest to play fast and loud, we lose the quality. And certainly when you play loud, you can lose your intonation. You can lose your ears. You're playing loud, all you can hear is yourself. And sometimes a competition also, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, when you're sitting in a contest, in a band, and you are so nervous that all you're concentrating on is your own part. And you come off stage and one of your pals says to you, "Oh, that was pretty good. There was a little mistake in the middle movement, wasn't there? Did you hear that?" And they say, "No, I didn't hear a thing. I was just concentrating on my own part." Well, then that means you're probably concentrating a bit too much, because playing in a band is plural for player. When you play in a band, you are in a band of men, a band of men and women, and you need to listen to what they're doing. It's quite nice to watch the conductor from time to time, but my own experience is that not many players do that very often. It's much more important to listen to your fellow players. So if you're concentrating so much that you can't listen to anything but yourself, or you're playing so loud that you can't hear anything else but yourself, or you could be sitting right in front of the percussion and you can't hear anything else but them. There's lots of reasons why I get it. I understand. I've been in bands all my life, and I've played in the fourth section in what you call D grade, and I've played in the championship in the A grade as well, and I've conducted in all four as well, and it's been difficult, and I understand that you don't always get all full rehearsals. Some bands haven't even got a full band. There was one band here today didn't play with any percussion, and I can fully understand the situation they're in, and I applaud them for coming to the contest without the percussion. At least they still came, they still experienced what you've all experienced. But I know how difficult it is running a band, and how difficult it is to get people to rehearsals. And so I'd like to congratulate all the individual players that took part over the whole of this festival. I'd like to congratulate the conductors. I'd like to thank the organisers, especially Jeff and his wonderful team here from New South Wales. I'd like to thank Adam Luff from Besson. They've paid for me to fly over here and do this competition. Without sponsors like Besson, our movement wouldn't exist. And without the team of volunteers that's been helping Jeff with his administration, do you know, it's exactly the same everywhere I go. Recently, I've been to Norway, Canada, Japan, and now I'm here and experienced brass banding just like this. And it's the same in the UK. Without volunteers, we wouldn't be anywhere. So let's put our hands together, please, to thank all those people first of all. what we thought we'd do is listen to, yesterday what we did anyway, we listened to at the test piece, and then I drew up a list of things that were generally not wrong, but could have been improved, if you like, with the test piece. And then we worked with the band and went through it. And what I'd like to try and do this afternoon, if it's okay with you, one of the test pieces in the C grade was Philip Sparks' prize winners, and there was a few common problems in there, as I've already mentioned. Details like accents, staccatos, tenutos, phrasing, dynamics, intonation. They're all there. They're all challenges to be conquered, aren't they? And they're the sort of things that, you know, you can actually get them right in the band room, and all of a sudden you come to a contest and it's all gone out the window. So that is just live music. If you were playing concerts every single weekend, playing in public would become second nature. But for a lot of us, we only play once every 3 months, once every 6 months in public. And so that becomes quite a nervous experience for us. And I'd like to just maybe, before we do anything else, maybe help one or two people with the stress that goes under. The thing is, it's the fear of the unknown that really scares us. And when you are sitting there, like I did on solo euphonium, with Black Dyke Band, and you walk onto the Royal Albert Hall stage, and you go through this little tunnel to get onto the stage, all you can see is the Queen's box on the tier, and all you can see is about 5 people there. And as you walk through the tunnel, it gradually opens out until you stood on stage and there's 5,000 people watching you. And then you sit down and you've got to start playing. And all of a sudden you realise that you're sweating, and you realise that your heart's pounding, and you realise that your palms of your hands are wet and your knees are wobbling. And there's this person in your head that's saying, ha ha ha, now play your best. You've got to try and silence that demon on that side of your head. Now, on this side of my head, I'm lucky I've got my wife and my mother. They think I can do anything, okay? So they're the ones that say, you can do anything, Robert. Don't worry about that guy on this side of your mind. Just play. But it's not as easy as that. So what I do is I try to simulate the conditions. I teach at the Royal Welsh College of Music in Cardiff, and in the 4th year of the degree course, these poor old students have got to do a recital, and that recital will determine whether they pass their degree or not. They've already paid £9,000 per year in fees, and then probably another £9,000 in accommodation and beer, and so they're in debt to the tune of about £60,000, and they've got to play a recital to get through their degree. So I talk to them about exactly what I'm going to talk to you about now. I try and get them to simulate the conditions. So I get them to walk up and down the stairs a few times to get their heart beating really fast. And then when they go on stage and their heart's beating fast, and the demon says, your heart's beating fast, you're going to mess it up, you can say, no. Your mother or your wife on this side say, don't worry about it. You've practiced it that way. You've walked up and down the stairs with your heart beating fast. It's no problem. And of course it isn't. You might have to just move your breath marks a little bit. Your breathing gets a bit smaller, but you still get through it. And but then this guy says, yeah, but what about all the sweat running down your face and your mouthpiece is sliding all over the place? That's fine. I put some Vaseline on my lips and I practice with a slidey lip. There's no problem. You've got to try and answer the questions. Because the question you can't answer is if you can't play it in the first place. If you can't play the music, then you just got to do some practice. But I remember being really worried about a top C that was in a solo. And I just wrote it out a tone higher, made it a top D. And so again, when this guy's saying, the top C is coming, you're going to mess it up, I can say, it's not a problem. I've played a top D. Or if you're running out of breath, practice it slower than the conductor wants it. So that when you feel you're running out of breath, you know that you can do extend because you've practiced that way. So all I would say to you, just have a little think, try and simulate the condition. Have a think what made you nervous today, and then try and simulate those conditions. Put them into your practice, and you'll be surprised. Instead of the negative person talking to you, you'll have a positive one giving you all the answers. So I'm going to work with this band now for a few minutes, just working through some of the common problems that we found in prize winners. And I think Tim, where's Tim? There he is. Have you got some questions from around Australia that you want to ask? Around the world? It's not my brother that's been asking questions, is it? The trouble is with me, my whole family plays. I'm one of 4 children. I'm a euphonium player. My brother is a euphonium player. My sister was a trumpet player. My other sister's a tenorone player. My 2 sisters are married to instrumentalists, and I've now spawned children who are also instrumentalists. My brother is married to a tenorone player, and their daughter plays baritone. I'm married to a flugelhorn player. My son and daughter both play. In fact, one time we appeared on BBC television as a family with my dad conducting us. That was quite good fun. So if you come around to my house for dinner, and anybody's welcome, by the way, if you find yourself in the UK, actually not just the UK, this is New South Wales. I live in the old South Wales. I live in Cardiff, the capital of Wales, and I live in South Wales, where the coalfields were, but there's still a lot of tradition and all that sort of stuff as well. So yeah, if you come to my house for dinner, then there's only one thing we're going to be talking about, and that's brass bands. So you're welcome to come anytime. I'm going to just do a little bit of work with the band now, and or should we have a question first, Tim? Has anybody here got a question? Never mind people on the internet. Has anybody here got a question? No, didn't think so.
So they want to know, what's the key ingredient of a successful band?
The key ingredient to a successful band, rehearsal, and full rehearsals, and one conductor, not 25. Everybody in a band thinks they know better than the conductor. The conductor will pick a piece of music. Oh, we're going to play that again. You know what I mean? The conductor will tell the bass player that he's dragging, and the bass player will shout back, "No, it's the trombones rushing." So I think we should. The real secret to a successful band is for everybody to know their jobs. For the players to know that their job is to play, for the conductor to conduct and do whatever else he needs to do, and the other job for the players is to turn up for the rehearsals prepared to play. And I think in a competition, it's a nice little thought for all the players, every single player, to think for the band to win the competition, they need to win their own personal competition. So that means that if you want to win, you have to be the best principal corner player on the day. You have to be the best second baritone player on the day. You have to be the best second B-flat bass player on the day. If everybody wins their own contest, then that band will win, won't it? And the thing is, you don't want some really loud bass trombone player ripping it out in a piece, giving like 50% of the band's sound. There's 25 players in a band. If they all give 4%, that adds up to 100%, and that's plenty. You don't need anybody trying to win the war with trying to save the day. Principal corner players trying to save the day, giving 10%. Just if everybody practices and gives 4% each, the band will deliver 100% performance. Answer? Good? Good, okay. Next one.
What's your favourite test piece?
What's my favourite test piece? Well, it's probably the one that I'm working on at the time, because, you know, a conductor gets really engrossed in the piece that they're playing. To give you an example, if I get a brand new piece of music, the first thing I do is just look through it, and then I'll because, like, you know, like a brass band piece, any one of these players can look at this piece called the Prize Winners and look at it on 2 pages, and they can see the whole piece. The conductor's score is sometimes 75 pages long. So what I'll do is I'll make a graphic score of that score on one sheet of paper. So I'll draw all the bars across the top. Maybe there's 300 bars. With my ruler, 1 to 300, and then I'll do some dividing lines, and I'll put where the different sections of the piece are, and then I'll write in those sections what's difficult about it, euphonium solo, technical, time signatures. And then at the bottom, I'll draw pianissimo, piano, mezzo piano, and then I'll just draw a graph that goes through so I can see where the loudest bit is in the piece. And then I'll look at the piece of paper, and I can see the whole piece on this graphic score. So I can see it, and in the early stages, I'll take that piece of paper to band practice so that I can say, let's go from that difficult bit at letter K. So I'm not fumbling through the score trying to find it. I'm trying to make the rehearsal really efficient, if you like. And then I'll get the score again. I'll photocopy it, blow it up, make it a bit bigger, and play through everybody's parts on my euphonium. See where the difficulty is. See where the fingering could be changed a little bit, where it could maybe help the players. And then I'll go over everybody's dynamic and everybody's crescendo, diminuendo with a red pen. And as I'm discovering things like, for instance, the euphonium is marked mezzo forte, but the rest of the band is marked mezzo piano, I'll write that in pencil across the top of the score. Now this takes about 5 days to do. And then when I go to the rehearsal, I'm totally prepared for the rehearsal. What you find is being a conductor, if you're successful, is that you've got to put in at least 2 or 3 hours practice to prepare a rehearsal. And then at the end of the rehearsal, I'll record the band running it through, and between that rehearsal and the next one, I'll listen to it lots of times. I'll do what I call specific listening. But that means I'll just listen to it just for the cornet section, make some little notes. I'll listen to it just the percussion, just concentrate on the percussion. I'll listen to it just to see if I've got the tempos right. I'll listen to it just dynamically. So I might listen to the piece 10 times, but I'm not like listening to it like we normally listen to a piece, like just for fun. I'm specifically listening to areas that I want to try and improve. Because to win a competition, it's all about marginal gain. If you can just make a 1 point difference there, and another 1 point difference there, another 1 point difference there, they all mount up, and at the end, you've got a big gain on the other bands. And the other thing I like to do is to think in my mind that we're starting off with no points, 0 points, and for everything positive and for everything proactive that I do, every little crescendo that I add into it, or any little detail I find, I get an extra point. So that means that when I get to the contest, it might be I get 120 out of 100. Whereas somebody that starts off with 100 and they try and protect that 100, so they play a little bit louder than marked. They don't want to make any ugly mistakes. So they're protecting it. Invariably, there will be some mistakes. So invariably, they always get less than 100. Better to be positive than to be negative, I think. What was the question? Oh, yeah, the one I'm working on. That's what I mean. So I'm totally engrossed in a piece at the moment called Handling the Band. But no, I probably Philip Wilby's Revelation is probably my favourite piece. I like that one. Yeah, a lot. I like prize winners as well. Any more questions? Are we?
I've got one more favourite question. What's your favourite concert performance where you were in the audience?
My favourite?
Your favourite performance where you were an audience member?
Oh, an audience member. Probably when my son played in the BBC Young Musician of the Year and he won the brass final. It was televised and I was the proudest dad in the place. Yeah, that one. He played the Wilby Euphonium Concerto with a professional symphony orchestra then. So that was good. In fact, as a listener, probably listening to my family playing is what I like doing most. There was a time when my son used to start playing, then I'd get nervous for him. But he's got so good now that I don't even get nervous. I just enjoy it. That's it.
There's a few more, but maybe we'll come back to it.
Oh, will we? Okay. So now I'm going to have to shout so that you can hear what I'm saying. So we're just going to do a couple of bits in prize winners. Detail. Detail is something that the adjudicator can spot straight away. And so if you can find some detail in the piece, that's really good. Let's just start the piece off, shall we? Prize winners, please. Prize winners, please. 3, 4. That's pretty good. They're a pretty good band. They can play the piece, but it's the conductor's job to try and find extra things. Now, the timpani has 2 notes before the rest of the band. Dig-a-dong, dig-a-dong. But we didn't hear that, did we? Because they're probably playing it on the beat, and that's a decision. That's a decision that the conductor can make. But for me, I want to do something different. Don't want to do just something different just for the sake of doing something different. I want to do something different that the adjudicator looks down and says, "Oh yeah, it's that. I've never seen that. I didn't see that before." So, Tim, can you go dig it on like semi-rehearse? Just play that for me. 3, 4. Good. So let's all play that first note. 3, 4. I haven't heard that once today. Not once today I've heard that Tim come in. Dig it on. So that's in the first bar. Then I would ask the brass then to to play the first quaver on the second beat, mezzo forte. So it goes dig it down, ba, and play the accent forte, but play the staccato note, mezzo forte. Okay? Can I just try the horns, baritones, trombones, please, and euphoniums, not the bass trombone. So you're going to play the first note you play. You're going to play mezzo forte, and then you're going to give me a really good accent. 3, 4, 1. There's an accent. See, that's the accent. So I'm bringing. I can't ask him to do more on the accent. They're already doing a lot, but I can ask him to take off the first note they play. So now we're going to go dig it down, ba. Okay, beginning. 3, 4. So there's 2 points already that we've got. Marginal gain. This is in the first bar, and I've already got 2 points more than the other band. Okay. Now there's a lovely diminuendo, isn't there? So let's say tenor horns. Just go yap-pa, and don't play the fourth beat. Just die out completely. Take a rest on the fourth beat. Okay? Just leave it to the trombones. And so we're cheating. We're cutting a few players out to make this lovely diminuendo. Okay, so then the same people, please. In fact, tutti, everyone, from the beginning. From the beginning. But I want a really big diminuendo down to piano, and then come back up in the next bar. Yeah, bah. Okay, beginning. Dig it up. 3, 4. Nice diminuendo. We're still in the first bar of the piece. Now, if you went through, like I do, with a red pen over everybody's paper, you'd find details everywhere like that. And of course, the trouble is, a band, individually, they all thought they were already doing that. But it takes a conductor to say, I know you're thinking it, you're doing it a little bit, but it's to get out of your head, to go into your mouthpiece, to go around the tubes, come out of the bell, and reach that adjudicator's box. Sometimes the ideas have to be a bit bigger than what you think. Yeah. So that's detail. Let's just play a little bit so you get warmed up from the beginning. But bring those accents out, please. Bring the accents out, not by playing the accent louder, but by playing the other bits softer. From the beginning. Dig it up. 3, 4. That's it, good. You can hear so much detail now coming out, the diminuendos, the accents. they're not just doing the accents I asked them now, they're doing accents. I've stimulated their independent thought. All of a sudden they think, oh, well, if we're going to do that on that accent, we might as well do the other accents as well. Good idea. Okay, let's move on to dynamics. Let's go to, let's say, bar, somewhere where you can put, bar 14. In fact, let's go from letter A. Letter A, okay? Letter A. So what you got here is 2 bars piano, 2 bars forte. So I'm going to ask them to play 2 bars pianissimo and 2 bars fortissimo, so that we definitely hear it up there. Okay? Letter A. Letter A, 3, 4. There's no doubt the dynamics. You can hear the difference in the dynamics, can't you? But there's also things in there which we can play. There's some accents and there's some tenutos. So we can go ba da ba 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 da ba ba bee ba ba ba. So just what's the difference between an accent and a tenuto? It's confusing. So we'll do them both the same. We'll do accents. When you see the tenutos in the horns, second bar, da 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 dee da da da. Just think of it as another accent. Okay, that'll be fine. Go from letter A again. So dynamics, but also the accents. Letter A, 3 and 4. Accent. Another accent. Accent. Another one. So we're just having a bit of fun, really. We're playing with the music. That's one of the things I mentioned yesterday. You got to get the notes in the right place at the right dynamic. They've got to be the right notes. Clearly, they've got to be at the right tempo. They've got to be perfect, just like a Sibelius playback. You know, when you write music on a computer, you press P, it comes back. It's perfect, but it's the most emotionless, sort of boring music you ever got. So once you've got the music perfect, then you can start playing with it. Instead of just playing it, you can play with it. And that's what we're doing now. Just having a bit of fun with it, characterizing the music. I don't know what you think when it could be anything. I mean, these young children, they've probably got better imaginations than anybody else. But it's like something creeping through the woods, isn't it? You know what I mean? Just have a bit, make the music come alive. Listen to it again. Think of that monster in the woods. Letter A, please. Letter A. 3 and 4. He's back again. So you can, I mean, nobody's too old to tell a story. You could put a story to this music. Philip Sparks' music is great. You could put a film to it, and it would work. You just got to have some imagination, and that's what once you've got the music in the right place, you need some imagination to make the music come alive. That's what it's all about. So dynamics can help that an awful lot. We could talk about something boring like intonation, because that is a word I've used with just about every single band over the 2 days. Intonation. And there's a few intonation problems here as well. Of course, some instruments are more prone to poor intonation than others. A cornet is pretty good. A cornet is pretty well researched and developed. And the reason for that is that the instrument manufacturers sell hundreds of them, The flugelhorn isn't a great instrument in terms of intonation. It's one of the most difficult instruments to play in tune. And that's because there's only one in a brass band, and they don't sell many. So they don't invest an awful lot of time getting them to play in tune. So that means that the players have to work hard to play in tune. French horns are much better in tune than a tenor horn, because worldwide they're sold much more often, and they're sold at a much bigger profit. So, you know, when you think of it that way, sometimes the tubas, they have a difficult job to play those instruments in tune. The only good thing about a tuba is, whereas the euphonium has to play 5 octaves, all they have to play is 1 octave. So they've only got to get 1 octave in tune, and it's usually there. But you've got to think about intonation. It's quite useful to get a tuning machine and to get a friend to just have a tuning machine and mark down whether the notes are generally flat or sharp or in tune, and then give you that piece of paper back, and you'll be shocked at what you see. But then you can start listening and trying to put it right. It might mean that you've got to pinch up on one note. It might mean that you've got to flatten off on another. Trombones, I've got it easy. There's absolutely no excuse why a trombone player should play out of tune. He's got his tuning slide in his hand. But they do, don't they? So things that can affect tuning could be mutes, for instance. Let's turn to bar 129. 129. You go by and look, I'll tell you where it is then. We've only known each other for about 5 minutes and you're complaining already. So I'm looking at before letter L. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7 bars before L, okay? 7 before L. Trombones and cornets. Can you play it open? No mutes. Just play it open. Okay, open. Touchy, everyone play. This is before letter L. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bars. 7 bars before letter L. 2, 3. 1, 2. But as soon as they put cup moots in, just put your cup moots in, please. As soon as you put the cup moots in, what does moots do? What do moots do to your instrument in terms of pitch? Anybody know? What do you think? They make it sound different. They do, and sometimes they make it sound softer as well. But moots do something to the intonation. Anybody? I'm sure some of you know. Yeah. It makes it sharp. Generally, it makes it sharp, but some moots can make it flat as well. A cup moot has the tendency to make the instrument flat. A straight moot will make it go sharp. And if you learn that, then you'll become a better player. Of course, you can sit there and give ask questions, answers if you want, like somebody just did then, and you learn nothing. So let's go from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 bars before L, please, with the cup moots in. Now, if you've got a cup moot, if you can, you just want to push your slide in, or at least be aware that you need to lift the note up a little bit. Just play a bit tighter, okay? And again, before L, 2 and 3. Good, that's fine. And we've got through that without anybody in the audience going, ooh. I tell you, I've been sitting in there all day listening to that bit, and there's been some excruciating intonation at that point. Because all sometimes players do, they don't think, they just stick a moot in, stick it on the face and blow. Something they don't even, actually if you just listened to the tune and you were able to sing, just play me, let's have a listen to that solo line in the rep piano corner, please. And the rep piano corner and the second corner. Da dee da da dee da. 1, 2. Okay, good. La da 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 da. Because you're the band, I want you all to sing that. Okay? Here we go. 1, 2. Audience, 1, 2. So you're actually thinking of the pitch now. We can all sing. Not many of us have got a good voice. I haven't. But you should be able to sing in tune. You sing them songs in the bathroom perfectly. Da dee da 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 dee dum. So when we play it now this time, would you really think about singing through the instrument? Think about the pitch. Don't just think about the vowels you press down. Think about the pitch of the instrument, the pitch of the notes. Let's do it again. 129, 20, 2, 3. 1. That's even better than the last one. So, and we haven't pulled any slides, have we? We haven't pushed or pulled any slides. We've just said, let's listen to it. It's just unless the conductor reminds players, sometimes they forget. And all they want to do is come to band and actually finish band and go to the pub. Or, just blow loud or play fast. And this can be quite boring for players, just playing slow music like this, until you ask them to do things. Why not ask the players to sing the parts? It's a bit of fun. It breaks the boredom of the rehearsal, and it also adds to it as well. So intonation is all about listening. Let's move now to younger bar numbers, bar 88, which is let's go from H. Let's go from H. H. First of all, I want you to listen to what's going on and tell me who do you think's got the solo? Okay. That's H. What tempo is this? Okay. Just fast. Pick it up. H. 1, 2, 3, 4. The reason I've done this, and instead of laughing, when you just have a look at your part and see if you can sort it out, because I always think it's best to laugh when you get it right, but not when you get it wrong. The reason I asked was because the timp. Did you hear the timp? Just listen to the timp. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Anybody got any idea what rhythm he's playing? No. And it's flat solo. Now, percussionists don't like being told what to do, okay? Because we're all brass players, and they're expert percussionists. We know nothing about percussion. So the last thing I would do is suggest that he plays with harder sticks, because he'd be offended by that. But I might say to him, I need more clarity. I need the sound to be brighter. And then he'll go and pick up some harder sticks. Or he'll move the sticks to the side of the drum. Just turn those sticks around for a minute. You got your harder sticks. Yeah, play with the wood. Play with the wood. Yeah, now let's play that. Play with the wood. 1, 2, 3, 4. Completely different. Now this section is marked solo for timp. And all I got in there was like underwater timps. But they like doing that. I used to have a timp player at Corey. His name was Alan Organ. Oh, are we still streaming this? Yes. Oh my God. And he used to purposely use sponge sticks, so as I couldn't hear him, and he looked great. He'd been pulling all his faces, but you couldn't. Now, what it means now that we've got to play it crisp like this, he's got to practice that, because the rhythm actually is. It's tricky. It is very tricky. But while he uses those sponge sticks, he can get away with murder because it's just like. Okay, go back to them other ones. Use the soft ones. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now he thinks that that's a lot. He seriously thinks that that's a lot clearer. But to me, and especially if he went up there, it's still the same. What he's done is moved to the edge of the drum. That's his solution. Okay? My solution is I want harder sticks. But I'm still not going to tell him to do that because he'll be offended. No, that isn't quite even brighter. Is there something else you can do that makes it brighter? Try turning the sticks around. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you'll be honest, that's more difficult to play, isn't it?
Yes,
A little bit more difficult, and the rhythms, you can hear every little lumpy bit of it. But from an adjudicator's point of view, that's what I want to hear. Do you know why? Because that's what the composer's written. It's got solo tim. Dum digga dum digga digga dum dum digga. And all the rest of the band are worried about is ba, 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 ba. And there was quite a few that played solos in those gaps. They should be given a medal, a chocolate one. Okay, so then rushing is something that the players do an awful lot. In this case, the worst bit for rushing, let's have a look for a rushing bit. Let's go from, we can go from 159. From 149, which is the vivo. It's the vivo before letter M for mother. Okay? Vivo before letter M for mother. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what you probably won't pick up until I mention it to you is that they're playing quavers, and the quaver should be and what I'm hearing, especially for the ones that are coming off the beat, they're going da da, yeah da da da. They go 1 da da, da da, da da. They come in the right place, but they play the quavers too fast. So they're coming in right, but they're playing the quavers too fast because they're panicking. They're panicking about. I understand why you're panicking, by the way. They're panicking because they've got to count and then play. And they're breathing a bit late sometimes. So when you count 1, 2, 3, da da, you want to go 1, da da. Breathe when you're counting. So if you leave your breathing too late, then you're going to snatch your breath, and you're going to be late coming in, and then you're going to play too fast to catch up. So let's try that again. Just play me, everybody, on a concert B flat. C's, G's, B flat, C's, G's, B flat, C's. Just play. Yeah, and percussion as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now just play me get that on the same note. After 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. That feels a lot slower than what you're playing then, doesn't it? So let's go 1, 3, 4, 1. Get that from the vivo. 1, 2, 3, 4 from the vivo. I'll give you a bar for nothing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 3, 4, 1. No? You're going da da, da da. It's da da, da da, not da da. Oh, vivo. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. 3, 4. 1. If I was conducting you, that's what I'd be working on. I'd be trying to take the panic out of it. We'd rehearse it with the side drum going, just play those, and then we'd do one group with that, and then we'd do the other group with that, to try and get where, so you know where it is. There's no panic in it. So rushing is something that people don't believe they do, and this is a good one. The composer has said, in his wisdom, the composer said, crotchet equals 168. That's fast, isn't it? There's 168 beats per minute. There's 60 seconds in a minute, so that's more than twice. It's almost 3. And not only that, but he says 168 crotchets, and in brackets he's got plus. So that is for the conductors. It's just a crazy thing, because then all of a sudden they all think they're conducting Black Dyke Mills Band, and that they can play at like 200. Well, it says 68 plus, but you can't hear anything. You can't hear any detail at all. So all I would say is play the tempo that lets the music speak. Especially, this is quite a reverberant hall on this stage, from listening up there anyway. So just because it says 168 plus doesn't mean to say that you're going to drive your Ferrari at 200 miles an hour. Right? Let's just play this bit. Let's say tempo 185. That's around about. Yeah, let it P. Let's a P. Right, let's a P. And I'll do a Ferrari version. Okay. Listen for the detail. This is at a P. Okay. Yep. Some conductors were even faster than this. 1, 2, 3, 4. They're having a great time. They love it. Playing fast and loud, that's what they were born to do. But I'm up there, and I'm going, what the hell's going on? Because you can't hear any detail. So, let's do it a slightly more boring way. About 150. So instead of doing 168 plus, I'm going to do it a bit less. But this time, put a little accent on. So you can play with the music, you have a bit of fun with it, okay? And then that'll sound exciting. You don't need the speed to make it exciting. What you need is the phrasing. The phrasing will make it sound exciting. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a bit less in tempo, but it's a lot clearer, and they're not playing so loud, and it's difficult to play fast and loud. It is one of the most difficult things to do. So taking one of those off, making it a bit slower, and actually asking them to play a bit softer as well, you've got two things there. It's a double whammy. You get the advantage of both. So you just have to think, because I know, and I'm not being a big head in any way at all. But I know that I could have improved a lot of these bands. And I think the conductors could have. The thing is, I don't know the journey that the bands have come through. If they've started from right down there and they've got to where they are, the conductor's done a fantastic job, hasn't he? But I'm just saying, you could go the extra mile. And certainly when you're lucky enough to conduct one of the best bands in the world, you know, technically speaking, they can play. Like people, the principal corner player of Corey Band, the principal corner player of Black Dyke Band, you could beat 200 miles an hour if you wanted, and they would play it. So there's no restrictions for some conductors. The restriction is, what did the composer want? What does the room allow you to do? They are the restrictions. Because if it doesn't speak, then you're just having a great time and not like fulfilling what the composer intended. So we could go through this whole piece, couldn't we, and dissect it and do like that. There's a lot, but don't forget what I said, marginal gain. If I've got 20 of these places in a piece, that's 20 points that I've lifted the band. They're only little things. And what I might do, I know it's cruel, but I might, if there's a slow horn cadenza, or a slow horn solo, for instance,
And I've got somebody on solo horn who is in the autumn of their playing career, who's really good at some things, and especially the technical things, but they might have one of these young whippersnappers here on first horn that maybe makes a more pure sound, that more of a choir boy or girl sound. Then I'm quite happy to have a word with the older person and just say, would you mind letting young Johnny or young Alice have a go at this piece, because I think they'll make a better job of it. So I don't mind swapping things around, because the whole purpose of coming to a contest is to win. You can go to a contest, you can go to a concert and enjoy yourself. You can have a great time in the band room. But if you go to a contest with a band, you want to play to the band, not the individuals. You want to play to the band's full potential. And that might mean a few awkward conversations for the conductor. And some conductors don't want to go down that road because they want to be everybody's friend. I'm not too bothered about being everybody's friend. I just try and do my job and try and keep a really good discipline in the band. I'm not particularly a religious guy, but I very often say to a new band, I want the band room to be like a church. I don't want any swearing. I don't want it to, if somebody makes a mistake, I don't want you lot to laugh at him or her, because that's not conducive to having a good rehearsal. I don't want anybody swearing, don't want anybody belching, I don't want anybody farting. I want none of that rubbish, which some people find very, very funny. But it's like a school classroom. Once you've got rid of the bully, actually, everybody likes the working environment that you've created. And so that's what I do with the bands, just by creating a really good working environment, being strong, demanding that players come to rehearsal. My father, if you think I'm tough, my dad was worse. There was a soprano player in his band once, and he said, I'm sorry, John, I can't come to rehearsal on Saturday, I'm getting married. My dad said, what time is the wedding? And they both turned up to the rehearsal because my dad changed it. It was a long time ago, mine. But yeah, that gives you an insight into what I do anyway. Hope you've enjoyed it. Just a couple more questions and then we'll call it a day.
What's the greatest excuse for not showing up to rehearsal?
Oh, I've had some fantastic ones in my time. The best one, and Lorraine, my wife, is there, she knows exactly what I'm going to say. You, don't they? Yeah. Just shows you know we're not telling lies. What does it involve? A ball, yes. So my soprano player said, his wife phoned up actually, she said, Steve won't be able to come to band tonight. Hey, are we still on live stream?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Anyway, it's a true story. So my soprano player said to me, who will now be Philip, his wife said to me, I can't, my husband can't come to band tonight. He's been hit by a wrecking ball in a demolition yard. You know, those massive big steel balls that knock houses down and stuff. I said, dear. I said, that's terrible. She said, yeah, it was worse than that. She says, it hit him when it went that way. She said, and he managed to get back up. And it got him again. And he came this way. And then she says, this was like on a Monday night. And she says, but don't worry, he'll be there on Thursday. That's got to be the worst one. That's it. Okay, so what's your name, guys? What's your band?
Southwest City Brass. Southwest City Brass.
Southwest City Brass. Thank you for being guinea pigs for me this afternoon. I really appreciate it. And I hope you've done very well. I won't ask what you draw. Hey, seriously, thanks very much. I really appreciate it. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you all very much as well. I've had a wonderful time whilst I've been here in Australia again. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoyed that impromptu little workshop Q&A with Bob Childs. Hopefully you had a chance to get your questions answered. we did what we could with there. We're about to go into the results for the Open C and Open D grade. We're going to leave this live stream running. If you're watching on Facebook, hi. The quality is a little bit better on brassband.com. If you've been watching all day and all weekend on Brassbanned, then great to have your company. Reminder, we're live again in a fortnight with the Tasmanian Band Championships, then a fortnight after that with the Queensland Band Championships. So we'll just keep on rolling through to the results. If you want to rewind and rewatch that workshop, that's available on brassband.com, and I'll have a chat with the band and with Dr. Childs and see if it's okay to keep that recording up, and if it is, we definitely will, but it'll be completely up to him and the band if they're happy with that or not. So stand by, and we should have some results very soon. Thanks for watching.